Greener Pastures explores how people are using new sustainable technologies and ideas to change the landscape of farming across America. This half-hour weekly series is designed to entertain and inform people who live in rural and urban areas about the ecological soundness, economic viability, and social benefits of becoming a sustainable farmer. Please contact Gold Productions to learn more about Greener Pastures. This week on Greener Pastures, we get to know two California farmers. Our first destination, Ambeth Estate Winery, a 20-acre vineyard that uses biodynamic farming principles.
We went wine tasting in Paso Robles one day, and we ended up at a little tiny place called Bella Luna on Templeton Road. And we tasted this wine, and both of us looked at each other and said, "Wow, what's this? This is so different from what we've been tasting all day." And we found out that it was head-trained, dry-farmed fruit. I asked to meet with the person who was responsible with it, and his name was Kevin, and he came out here the next day, and we stood at the top of this hill here. We weren't planted, and he said, "Look at them weeds. If them weeds can grow like that, grapes will grow." It was a big switch because, you know, a regular planting is a lot more money, as it happens. To plant with trellis and irrigation systems, it's a lot more infrastructure. This way suited what Mary and I wanted so much more as well. Head train is a vine that comes up and is supported by a central stake. It's very beautiful and it's traditional.
And so we just on a dime switched our direction, decided to grow dry farmed. There are philosophy differences. There are vineyard owners who believe that an irrigated vine isn't so stressed and that you'll be able to sense that from the taste. There are half and half people who will look at you and say, well, we don't irrigate, only when they really need it do we irrigate, which means you irrigate. This is just our philosophy that dry farmed vines produce fruit that gives you a sense of place.
We grow our products, including our grapes, biodynamically.
So something that differentiates biodynamic farming versus organic farming is that with organic, you're still allowed to use synthesized inputs, chemical fertilizers, herbicides, fungicides, you know, whatever you need. With biodynamic farming, we are not allowed to use any of those things. And I think the intent is that we create a healthy soil.
We are working on the plant to take what it needs from the air, from the soil that is there. So it's not that we're depriving the plant of nitrogen and potassium. It just must find it itself from its own environment, and we help it.
So the reason why we make biodynamic wine is because it is in essence a pure form of wine.
And it's an unbelievable format that I think when we were all 25 years old, we thought all wine was made in this way, that you just took a grape and it converted into wine. Well, it actually pretty close does. And I think converts into a wine that once again is more interesting, rather like vegetables grown in the same way. They're more interesting.
I think a quality about wanting to become sustainable is that you're unwilling to be lazy, because it does take a little bit more effort to do all of this rather than just put things down the sink or in the trash. I mean, honestly, it does take a lot more effort to farm chemical-free. It does take more effort to conserve water, to really think about what you're planting, how you're going to maintain it. And all of that requires more work. So this is where we keep the compost from the kitchen. And then once it fills up, we come and scoop it with the tractor and take it down to the woods to our big compost pile to age there.
We have rabbits because we like to eat rabbit. Also because they provide excellent compost again. So we will take this and put it in the compost pile. Again, it also adds more diversity in every way that you can possibly imagine to the property, and that's our full-time goal.
Something that I've really enjoyed as a part of my garden is walking straight out my kitchen door and having access to my herb garden. Because when you're in the midst of cooking, the closer you are to your herbs, the more you're gonna go get them.
So this is the portable chicken coop. So the chickens, if you can imagine a further house coming down, which is what we're going to do, the chickens will roam now within those parameters. So it'll be some, 5 feet wide, 15 feet long. So now we'll let them out in the morning, they'll roam in that specific area, they'll dust themselves, they'll do all the things that chickens do. But most importantly, from our point of view, is they'll cultivate the ground. If you leave chickens in one spot, they decimate the ground. But if you move every day, they just cultivate that area, then this will move forward whatever the distance, 15 feet the next day, and they'll cultivate that area. So up here we have the solar panels. It's a perfectly south to southeast facing roof. We get about 80% of our power from it, and it's passive. We don't do anything. It works for us. We love it.
Ambeth Estate. Ambeth means forever in Welsh. And I'd like to view it in a very romantic way, in a sense that this is where we see ourselves forever, Philip and me, living here and farming.
We want to be sure that when we leave this property and go somewhere else, as in, maybe, who knows? My wife knows, she's definitely going up there. I'm not so sure. But we want to make sure that this property is at the very least in as good a condition as when we first started working with it. So we want the ground, the earth, to respond to us farming in it in a positive way, not just for us to take. And that's a big deal about what we're doing.
We both feel like this is what we're supposed to be doing. I love my husband, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I have a garden. I mean, I don't think it gets any better than that. I really feel like I'm doing what I was meant to be doing. So.
It's fun. That's the bottom line. It's what an amazing thing in life to be able to do something that you absolutely love and enjoy, and it's fun.
Up next, we see how one farmer redefines his 1,000-acre farming operation on greener pastures. Let's meet Chad Crivelli, who for 10 years has kept his farm profitable by implementing a variety of sustainable practices.
I think I learned how to drive a tractor before I could walk. So, whenever I did spend time with my dad particularly, it was in the field, it was on the farm, it was, something to do with farming. And I just, somehow I caught the bug. It's gratifying to go into a supermarket and to see a product and to see a label on it for maybe a company you grow for, and wondering if that didn't come out of your field. I grow a number of different crops, about 9 different crops, vegetable, field crops, hay crops, and also seed crops. There's always an evolution process in anything you do. There's not a business around today that does things the same way they did when the industry got started. I personally don't eat organic food and don't let my wife buy it or anything, because that food could have been 4 times that amount if it had been grown conventionally or even sustainably. There's too many hungry people in the world that would be happy to eat anything, let alone something organic. So that's kind of why I've leaned on the sustainable side. Sustainable is basically a middle ground between conventional and organic, to where we're reducing pesticides, we're reducing, the impact on the environment, but we're not cutting out pesticides altogether. So we can still make a fairly decent yield sustainably. And I believe that this is, the next step where we're going to have to go in order just to stay in business, period. This is our first underground buried drip project. Another aspect of our sustainability. We can run our fertilizers through this drip system. We can put it right to where the crop needs it, and we can run pesticides through the drip line as well, which reduces the amount we need. We don't need to cover the whole leaf surface of the plant anymore. That also keeps it out of the air, keeps it off the surface, and just puts it right into the plant where we need it. You can sustain a plant with a lot smaller area of marginal soil, and the yield increase has been 50% and above on certain crops. This field is less than an 1/8 mile away from the San Joaquin River, so very important to control runoff that we've been trying to do for years. And this is one of the most efficient uses of water. There's virtually zero tailwater, zero runoff. The cost of the irrigation system hopefully is going to be divided out over at least 8 years. We hope to get 8 years out of the plastic and hopefully even more. We're just kind of banking on the fact that water supplies will keep getting tighter and tighter as they have been the last few years. And hopefully with things like drip systems and other efficient uses of water, we'll still have that water bank to keep going for the next few years beyond that. So we just think it's a really good tool to use to keep the environment as clean as we can. I grow these tomatoes, I guess the word sustainable, but as sustainable as possible. Try to have the least amount of impact on the environment surrounding this field as possible. For one thing, we've started to almost 100% transplants, where we grow the plant in the greenhouse, and that eliminates all the pre-season weeds where we can cultivate, and that reduces all the herbicide costs, reduces some fungicides because they go into the field already growing. One of the main things that I still use after 10 years is hedge growths around fields to attract beneficial insects, to try to use the beneficial insects to eat the insects that are harmful. And those hedge growths consist of just general habitat for them to live in, to flowers of different colors that actually attract them, to plants that produce pollen for them to eat, so they can go through the life cycle of the harmful pests and still have a food source. I think the main difference is as far as converting kind of from conventional farming to sustainable is basically just information, spending a lot more time gathering information, from other areas and most importantly from your field in a specific manner, and not just spraying an entire crop, but actually looking block to block. Every time we find something that works, I think we're going to have to find something to add to it and to make it work better until we get the consumer satisfied that we are absolutely giving them the safest product that we can at the lowest impact on the environment that we possibly can. And when you look at something like that, there's no end point. It's just a constant movement toward something better. And I just think from the benefit that I can visibly see to our soil, to the water around us, the waterways and wildlife around our fields, I think everybody is going to eventually realize the benefits, and eventually it's going to be the norm. What I'm doing now is going to be the norm, and hopefully by then I'll have the energy to be a couple steps out ahead of that.
Next week, we visit Nick Ranch, a certified organic farm that uses ultrasound to deliver 100% grass-fed beef from their ranch to your home. Join us on Greener Pastures.